Hey, welcome in, buddy. Looks like we are live. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. Well, man, I screwed that up. Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. Go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And, of course, cousin Shane back from his day off, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What's up, yo, Tennessee Hober?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man. Don't forget, we got us a couple spring games coming up here on Saturday to close out spring football, Shane. So we're going to talk a little South Carolina. They got a spring game.
Yeah.
A&M, they got a spring game. Texas, they got a spring game. And unfortunately, no Oklahoma. Oklahoma, they got to step up their game when it comes to putting out clips and comments, things like that, so we can feature them on this show. But they'll get there because certainly they'll have something this weekend. You know what?
If we keep demanding it, it'll finally show up. Now, I've seen some handheld videos from the sideline with a couple players, but I was like, but it's not good for the audio listeners. So, but yeah, they've a lot of action still going on. We got the spring portal cranking open. You open it up every morning and just pray to God one of your guys isn't in it. That's what it feels like.
Right. Well, the portal's been dead. I kind of figured it would be, Shane. We can talk about that here in a minute, but we also got throwing a little bit of curveball your way. We're going to talk some video game thanks to Shane Beamer, so we're going to cut to that in just a second. But I got a topic for you, Shane, because we're kind of light on the coach comments, even though we do got a couple here. Top 10 hot seat games in the SEC, and we'll combine that with one of the clips we do have, but we're gonna wrap up with the hot seat talk. So we'll save that for a minute. But let's kick it over to Shane Beamer first. This is the first. We're going to kick it over to Beamer a little bit later as well, Shane. But Beamer was asked about the upcoming NCAA video game, and we're all pretty excited about this one, right? Well, sounds like Beamer, he's got his mind on the game already.
Mm-hmm. Your likeness in there? Do they have to come and get permission for the coach and all that stuff?
If they do, they haven't asked me. So no, I hope it would be. That'd be pretty cool because I grew up playing the game in high school and college, so I would love that. But no one has asked me for anything. So if they want to, they certainly have my permission. That'd be great.
So Shane, he's the second SEC coach that I'm aware of that has said this. Lane Kiffin being the other one. He said Kiffin's was more about, hey, this is going to be great for recruiting if they can put me in this damn video game. So I love the fact that the coaches are in favor of it. I don't know that it's going to happen, and in fact, I kind of doubt that it would. Mm-hmm. But I'm just kind of curious, your favorite, when you get this game in your hands come July, if there's any coaches that you're dying to see be on the, I know you're not really the coaches, but it's still funny to see them on the sideline. Any coaches or players that you'd especially be excited to play with in the new game?
Well, that's a great question, Mike. And, we talked a little bit about this earlier in the offseason about potential coaches. And I'm going to be honest with you, some of the current ones, not so much. I could care less, really, with what coach is on the sideline. But as far as players, buddy, I've got a list. I've got a list of dudes that I can't wait to create dynasties with. And I know – some people don't like to talk about this, but you got to understand, from me and Mike's background, this was a tradition. This was a tradition for me and him. This was like the closest we ever got was kicking each other's ass in NCAA. You know what I'm saying? And, I mean, there would be weeks we would not talk after a football game that we played, and you had to be together. It wasn't like the old days, So 2014. So during that time, this is what we did. July 12th every year is when we went out there, got a video game, waited in line, with everybody, got home, and then we didn't do anything. But we didn't leave the cave for like 3 days, just nonstop. We were like 8 years deep in a dynasty before we saw sunlight,
Right. And just for the record, I think I was much more of a poor sport than you were, Shane. But I would say I beat you about 9 out of 10. So maybe it was just a rare occasion you actually could beat me. I would get pretty upset when it happened.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's what it was. You were tough. You were a juggernaut, not going to lie. In fact, the most upset I got is in a dynasty, he changed the sliders. As far as sliders, he made the difficulty level harder. So my little out routes with my tight end stopped working all of a sudden. And I'm like, what the hell happened here, you know? So then I reset the game. Mike comes down and he realizes I'm the second time playing this game. So, but anyway, yes, this is going to be pretty cool. And for the fans of NCAA, we're going to do some pretty cool stuff around that time. So keep your ears to the ground. You're thinking about maybe playing a little college football against me and Mike. You may get your opportunity sooner than later.
Right. So you said you got your list, Shane. Who's
Yeah.
on it? Who are the players that you're dying
Mike.
to play with in this NCAA video game after it's been away for so long?
Well, naturally, we're going to have to start with my Tennessee Volunteers because when you start a dynasty, you want a nice, young quarterback to build a team around, and who better than my boy Nico. So that is the first one I cannot wait to go with. And because when you're playing quarterback, especially in video games, you know, it's always been for me with college football is to kind of have that mobile aspect to them. And I cannot wait to do that with Nico. So run, pass. But on the opposite side, because you got to play defense, I had James Pierce. You know, I think he's going to bring terror. I think he'll be a 99, 98 when this game comes out. He'll be an absolute beast on the edge. So those two guys is what I'm looking forward to because, you know, my first dynasty is going to be with the Tennessee Vols.
Are there any players, maybe, and again, I don't know they're going to, we have no clue because they've been kind of vague about the details of this game. But I'm just kind of curious. I'm looking at it more from a historical. Most of I just have coaches, just to be quite frank with you. But are there any players that you're dying to play with if they had historic ones? Because you got to remember, there's a lot of guys that we missed out on, like Joe Burrow. You know, he's never had his opportunity to be in the game. Johnny Manziel. I'm trying to think. I don't think Johnny Manziel was ever in the game. I could be wrong, but players like that, you know, that are the ones that, again, I have no clue if these guys are going to be in the game, but I think they'd be doing the series a disservice if they didn't find a way to put some of those some of those players, some of those teams that missed their opportunity to be on the game, to put them in it.
No, I'm sure there will be some of that legacy play, and it's probably going to be money related that you got to buy packs and stuff like that to create an ultimate team. But yeah, my list was just current players, so I didn't quite, you know, I would love to dig in the back of players that we didn't get an opportunity to go with. You know, you mentioned Johnny Football. I think that one is going to be on everybody's list as an opportunity. But I just think there's been so much talent. That LSU team a few years back, could you imagine? I mean, if you're picking a team online to go against somebody, wouldn't you want that LSU team that Joey Burrow was leading? So I think teams like that would obviously come to my mind.
And so for coaches, let me ask you this, because there's speculation, and I don't know that this will happen either, Shane, but there's a lot of buzz that Nick Saban will be on the cover of this video game. Would you be in favor of Nick Saban being featured on the game? And perhaps, and here's where I'm going with this, Shane, you know, we love the dynasty. We've always wondered, what would Vanderbilt look like if Nick Saban led them? Just throw him on there and see what he can make of Vanderbilt, while maybe we're other teams in the SEC, see if he can turn Vanderbilt into an SEC champion.
Well, for two questions there, Mike. I think for starters, Nick Saban on the cover would be, I'm 100% in support of that. You know, he is a GOAT, the greatest of all time. I think this is a coach that you will constantly be telling your grandkids about one time. When I was growing up, you know, let me tell you, but just like they did Paul Bear Bright, you know, which is another coach that maybe you put there in your list. That's a coach that, you know, has the A&M ties, the Kentucky ties, the Alabama ties, you know. So you could put somebody in there. I think Johnny Majors, you know, winning that natty with Pitt, he never got that shot with Tennessee. By God, he'd do it on my team. You know, he'd get that opportunity. Spurrier throwing the visor on the ground, getting all pissed off on the sideline. That would be another one that I would be in favor of. So, yeah, dude, there's so many great coaches that would be good. But It's all about individuals with NCAA for me, Mike, and it's finding some of those dudes that can just win you that Heisman,
Right.
get you to that natty.
Number 2 on my list, and I hope they find a way to put him on the cover too, Shane, somehow, is Mike Leach. I'd love to see some kind of version where you could, maybe just play with the Leach offense, what have you. But how about, you mentioned it, Steve Spurrier. I mean, how great would that be if you could play with the fun and gun and just, virtually have his style of offense? I would be all in favor of that.
Just the personality alone, and the fact he's still alive. Some of the greatest coaches, they've moved on, and you don't have an opportunity to plug their voice in. That they're missing a real opportunity if they don't get the head ball coach some clips put in this video game.
Yeah, shout out Cousin Christopher. How excited are y'all to watch the first spring game of the next SEC dynasty of Texas A&M Aggies? Gave us a $5. I appreciate you, Christopher.
Thank you, cuz.
So how about another one I got on my list? And again, I wouldn't hire this guy in real life, Shay, but I'd hire him on my damn dynasty. Urban Meyer. Come on, get him off the TV booth, put him on the sidelines down there.
Oh, it'd kill old Kurt Herbstreit to say something positive about him on the sideline, wouldn't it?
And then how about one of our personal favorites? I just think it'd be funny to have him virtually, just hit the image of what they'd come up with this guy, Ed Orgeron. We love Coach O. Put Coach O in the game. You know what?
Yeah, put Coach. That'd be a good one. I think that's the key is personalities when you think about coaches, or some of just them old guys, that maybe are kind of drifted away. I think of like Switzer with Oklahoma or something like that. Here's a coach that not only won a national championship but a Super Bowl. So it's like even the greatest of all time, Nick Saban, couldn't do that. So I don't know. I just think that every team should have an opportunity maybe to pull up a legacy coach or something like that, right. Legacy players. Just because you kept it from us for 10 years doesn't mean we should not be able to use some of the players that were in some of those teams.
Right. And then I got one more, Shane, because I don't like to take over Bama, Georgia, teams that are already at the top. I like to take the teams that are at the bottom and try to prove my worth as a coach, move up the chain. Who is the one guy that it would be nearly impossible to win at a high level with, the worst coach of all time in the SEC, as long as we've been doing this?
Oh, yeah, Chad Morris.
Chad Morris. Give me Chad. I'll turn it into a dynasty with Chad Morris. That'd be my first pick. You know what?
Hey, if we do a dynasty, that's what you should name your coach, Chad Morris. So that maybe I pick somebody. Maybe I'll go down the street and get what's his name? The Ole Miss coach that never. What was his name? I'm so bad at coaching. The offensive line. Yeah, Coach Luke. Yeah, bringing him back. He had all those dynamic weapons he couldn't do anything with. But so your whole list. Let me just kind of give you guys a little peek behind the curtain here. So Mike shoots me a text about an hour ago. He says, "Hey," he says, I'm thinking about doing the NCAA thing. I said, "That sounds great, man." He says, "I'm thinking about doing some players. And let's talk about some players we'd like to have a dynasty with, whatever." And I'm like, "All right, yeah." So I'll create my list. Then he throws out, and then maybe coaches. And then we get on here, and it's all coaches, and there's no players. Is there any dudes on your list that maybe you're looking forward to playing with when this new game comes out?
No, because I'm not picky, Shane. I'll play with any of them. Give me Vanderbilt. Give me, we hate Dabo. Give me Clemson. I'll play it. It doesn't matter to me. I just want the damn game. But yeah. I don't know. Shane Beamer, Lane Kiffin, they're already talking about it. I hope we can kind of stir up EA Sports to be like, hey, we're really missing the boat if we don't throw in some of these coaches. If it's in the game, it's in the game. That's what they used to say, right? So
that's right.
I don't want generic fat guy, skinny guy. That was the only options they really gave you as a head coach. You know what?
No, you're all right.
Bald guy, right. Hat, buzz cut. I mean, that was like
gave
the
you
three
like
options.
4 options, yeah. And none of them are like real big. That's the thing. I mean, I appreciate it, the non-fat shaming there, but it's like when you put big, that doesn't mean like, 250. They ain't got no big guys. I tried to do that with AI. I made that AI video and I plugged it in there, and everybody's like, "Damn, Shane, you look good when you lose some weight."
All right, so let's get into it. Again, appreciate your cousin Christopher. We're going to start with A&M. I was planning on doing that anyway. But Elko, he had a press conference just today, Shane. Not a lot of quotes from it that were too memorable, but this is going to be the first spring game of the Mike Elko era. And instead of doing, again, everybody's different. Lane Kiffin, he's got a team ready to compete. And I'm not saying A&M doesn't, but I think Lane's got the answers. He already knows them. A&M, different story. We got to figure out. Hell, they added some transfers, Shane, back in December. Mm-hmm. Not many, but a couple that have already hit the portal again. You know what I mean? Like they're weeding players out down there in College Station. So we got to figure out what we've got down here. Here's Coach Elko on what to expect from Texas A&M's first spring game of his era.
Coach, I'm not going to let Olin outdo me. I got a couple of things too.
Okay.
First off, what defines a successful spring game to Mike Elko?
That Texas A&M wins. No.
I hope they don't get beat.
Me too. That would be a bad start. No, I think I really don't think in these terms. I'm just trying to like I'll be happy if we walk off the field and people can walk out of that stadium saying, I'm proud of what that looked like. The kids played hard. They ran around. They showed a lot of commitment to playing Texas A&M football the right way. It was clean. The operation looked clean. They looked like a well-coached team. And they went out there and put some enthusiasm into the fan base for what it's going to look like moving forward in the fall. I think that's probably what would define it for me.
Now I'm going to.
All right, Chase. Again, coach speak type stuff here, but I am going to be pretty fascinated to see what they did down there. They drafted. I love when they draft teams. So it's not just. It's always confusing to me when it's like first team offense, second team defense, and it's like it's so hard to keep track. You don't know what's meaningful, but I think you can kind of glean a little bit from when they actually do the draft because then you know who the players respect and who they're going after. I love to hear, well, who's your first round pick? Who's your second round pick? And it gets really competitive here. So I certainly like this model a hell of a lot more than what they did like at Ole Miss. But again, I understand why Ole Miss did it, but I just think this will be far more entertaining.
And even, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not, I mean, you're picking the best first and to the worst. And we've all been on that one, man. We've all been on, out there at recess and you're the last one picked for dodgeball. It sucks, but hopefully you're on a good team. Now, tug of war, they're coming after the anchor, and that's me.
All right, well, speaking of the anchor, I don't know how to transition from that, Shay, but we've been hearing some hype about Arch Manning. I don't know if you saw it on the last episode, Shay, but they said, by God, one of the commenters said, this guy's going to be better than Peyton, going to be better than Eli. Hell, he's going to be better than all of them put together. Here's Sarkisian saying that old Arch is really starting to come on. We got a quarterback competition. I don't know.
You had mentioned Arch, so I'm just kind of curious, one, what did he do so well that you like today? Do you feel like this quarterback room as a whole is maybe stronger than you've had it, since you've been here?
I mean, it's been, it's kind of grown throughout the years. I mean, there's nothing like having a third-year starting quarterback. I mean, we haven't had that luxury in our time here. I think the one thing that Arch really did today, I thought he did a really good job of stepping up in the pocket, keeping his eyes down the field, and delivering the ball under some duress very accurately. And Arch, the thing about him that I think most people probably don't give him enough credit for, he is a really good athlete. And he's big, he's strong, and he's fast. And sometimes he'll lean into using his legs to create explosive plays. We saw that in the Tech game when he got in last year. His legs became an advantage for him. And we like that, but we want that to almost be the last resort. I want him to have a real sense and a feel of stepping up in the pocket, making these throws, and when he has to use his legs, use them, which he did today. But I thought he made a few throws today in our team period that he didn't make Saturday and hadn't made, and that was a big step for him in my opinion.
All right, so he's taking steps, Shane. Again, I'm kidding about the quarterback controversy stuff, but just the latest update, because anytime we get an Arch update, we got to share it. You know what?
Yeah, but it's still tough to wrap your head around mobility and manning. It's like, I mean, I see some notorious bootlegs. Don't get me wrong, but it is going to take some getting used to. And I've seen pictures. Arch has put on some weight, looks good out there, and to even be having the quarterback controversy talk, even though it's really not, is great. It's a good place to be. He's not hitting the portal that right. He's got time to develop down there. Things are looking good for old Texas back here in that quarterback room.
How about King of Shenanigans? He says his cousin is my girlfriend is a cousin, according to him. I hope he means fan of the show, but either way, we don't judge here. You know what? We're all cousins. We're all cousins.
They just passed it. It's illegal to marry your cousin in Tennessee. Did you see that this last weekend? I got tagged on like 15 of those. Yeah, I get it.
Wait, is it legal or illegal?
It's illegal. Apparently, it's been legal the entire time. So now it's frowned upon, Mike. So stop sending me those wedding invites.
All right, hey, we haven't featured a Vanderbilt clip in a lot. Again, Vanderbilt's hard to come by too, Shade. So we got Clark Lee talking in the latest about their quarterback competition, and surprise, surprise, Shane, doesn't sound too good.
This would have been good after Anchor.
What did you see from the quarterbacks today?
Inconsistency. I thought we were able to connect on a couple of shots. I didn't like the offsides on defense where we threw the ball out of bounds. There's just some things we got to polish. Biggest thing to me though is the ball being on the ground. That's what we have to move past in this program, and that's I would like to be further along that way. Obviously, we're doing things offensively that stress those systems, but we gotta take care of the ball. I've said that here. I mean, that's the frustrating part. We'll keep our focus on it. We'll be better the next time we line up and play.
Well, I was glad I cut you off, Shane, because that cousin stuff was making me uncomfortable. But again, nothing that he says there is filling me with optimism. Is it you?
Nope. Just tie an anchor to me and just drop me off in Douglas Lake, Mike. Oh, Mike, I get it, but maybe it's the heat of the moment. You know what I'm saying? He's out there on the field for the audio listeners. They caught him right off. I mean, that's one of the things. And maybe there's a little frustration because you didn't see that improvement. But again, after the dust settles, maybe there's something you can kind of piece apart. Film study, you never know. Get these kids lined up. We got plenty of time for football starts, but it is right now not a good look for Coach Lee and company.
Yeah, Sandman says this dude already looks defeated, and that's kind of the vibe I was getting there. You know what?
I like the shirt though. I did like the shirt. VUFB, 8 out of half too. I like it. Very trendy. It's better than LSU with the L. Coach Kelly needs to get rid of that hat.
Yeah, he does. Well, let's move on, Shane. Again, I talked. We're going to get to Beamer here, and then we're going to get into the hot seat talk. But before we do, again, spring evaluation. Some of these coaches, it means nothing. Some of it is valuable. I like Beamer's tone here, which again tells me that we're going to get a fun, interesting spring game from Columbia this weekend. Let's kick it over to Beamer.
Shane, I've probably asked you this in the past, but on Saturday there'll probably be a player or two who has an incredible game, and naturally there'll be a portion of the fan base that will be very excited. How much stock do you put in the actual game, and how much stock does your coaching staff put into the previous 14 practices leading up to Saturday?
Yeah, I'd say it's a combination of both. I'm not one of those guys, Mike, that looks at the spring game and say it doesn't matter, because it does. It's another opportunity to go on the field and compete. It's an opportunity to get better. And some guys, frankly, they step up when the lights come on, if you will, and they're gamers. So there's a 14 practice body of work that obviously we put a whole lot of weight on, but we're not one of those people that just say, hey, let's just throw something out there entertaining and go home. I mean, we're competing, and we want to win. Each particular team does. And I think there's something to the fact that when there's people in the crowd, the lights are on, it's on television, that some guys step up and elevate their games, and really you notice them. And some guys you hopefully don't, but some guys maybe go the other direction. So I think it's a great indicator, and it's so important because, as you guys have heard me say before, we don't get a preseason game in college football, and we don't get a scrimmage against another team. So for a lot of these guys, it'll be the biggest crowd they've ever played in, maybe, and for all of them, it'll be the biggest crowd we play in front of until we do it for real against Old Dominion in August. So it's a great barometer for individuals and how they perform in those situations, without a doubt.
Michael Riley says, hey, did he break his foot again? He's talking about Beamer. But, hey,
did you notice he said, like, we're just not going to go out there. It almost felt like a little Ole Miss stab there, like we're not just going to come out here and eat hot dogs and shit. We're going to try to turn the lights on and see how good these boys are. Isn't that kind of what it felt like?
Oh, yeah. And again, we haven't even got to the spiciest Beamer comment. We'll get to that in just a second. But, yeah, and the Gamecocks are another one, Shane, that are doing the draft. So, again, I like that style. They got a lot to prove. They got a lot of unanswered questions, but particularly at the quarterback position. Latest quarterback update, shaded again. Not getting much from old Beamer here when it comes to a resolution on their quarterback competition.
Shane, do you look at Saturday as the chance to decide on your starting QB? Will that linger? And what's the philosophy? Because sometimes you do name it spring, sometimes you don't. But what's the philosophy in that situation of when you want to name a starter?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think certainly, just like to Mike's question, guys, whether it be quarterbacks or other positions, they have the ability when the lights come on to really step up and show, what, this guy's a gamer. And the quarterback position is no different. Obviously, we've been evaluating everything every single day since we started practice in March as well. As far as naming one and where we are, whatever we do, our players know that competition's a core value, so we will continue to compete at every single position through the summertime, through the month of August, preseason camp. We got guys that are returning starters like Debo Williams, but Debo knows he has to compete every day to continue to be the starting linebacker here at South Carolina. Nicky Manwari, DQ Smith, whoever, Tonka, TJ. But I think there's different philosophies. I've been in those situations before where you have a quarterback battle, and I had one at Oklahoma my first year there with a young man by the name of Austin Kendall and a guy that ended up being a pretty good quarterback by the name of Kyler Murray. And we had a quarterback battle that literally went until the middle of August as well, and Lincoln did not name a starting quarterback. I've been a part of other places where you name the starting quarterback because you want to have your team be able to rally around that guy kind of in the summertime where they know, okay, he's the guy going into the season and we need to rally around him. So I think each situation's different. I think both of those philosophies are valid, and it just kind of depends on each situation and where we are. Dow and I haven't talked about it as far as our time frame and wanting to do anything, but like I said, even if there was some sort of announcement after spring practice, like all positions, that position has to continue to prove it and earn it and compete.
Shane, I just got, before you make any comments, Cousin Dakota gave us $20. Thank you, Cousin. But I think it was because he saw Beamer on the screen. He said, oh, there's my son Beamer there, so here's $20. Can't go too long without everybody. I appreciate you, Cousin Dakota. But, again, hey. Yeah, I'm not getting any warm and fuzzies from what Beamer's had to say here, do you?
No, and all that MIZ, it'd be, going back to your list for coaches, I'd like to see the handshake. If MIZ, is it going to be standing on business and get the hell, Is there going to be some trolling? Back to Beamer here. Again, nobody likes quarterback controversy, especially in a year that I think is pivotal for Shane Beamer. This is, he's had a long runway here. He's had a long rope, but the more we go on and the more inconsistencies we get from this football team, the harder the questions are going to be, when he's talking to media. So I get it. I've said this a million times. I think a lot of this has to do with the portal. Doesn't want any of those quarterbacks to jump out. I think this thing's settled sooner than later, but it's going to be after the portal.
Right. Well, and then here's the one I've been teasing. Shane, man, did he want this clip played? And hey, it was my favorite one. We got to focus here. Obviously, we went 5-7 last year in Columbia. Beamer's right now, he's on the, all these coaches do it during during spring, after spring, what have you. They go around the state. They go to these booster functions. They meet with alumni. They meet with fans. How are they doing down there after 5-7? Beamer wanted no part of this one.
Phil?
Thank you. As you mentioned, you started your tour last night. What kind of questions are you getting from the fans coming off of 5 and 7? Do they still seem very supportive? Do they still feel encouraged about what you're doing? What kind of feedback did you get last night?
It was a packed house last night at the Catawba Fish Camp, and we got the greatest fans in America that I don't know if they've ever been more excited about Gamecock athletics.
What the hell, Phil? What the hell? Why do they not have that shirt yet, man? Because Phil always comes with some zingers over here in South Carolina, don't he?
Yep, they called Tiger Phil for a reason, Shane.
Oh,
But again, I have no idea if he's a Clemson fan or anything like that. But I thought that was hilarious, and that's what gave me the idea, Shane, for the topic here: top 10 hot seat games. But before I get to that, real quick, South Carolina coming off a 5 and 7 season. I get it. That's not where you want to be. But they, I think there needs to be some context there. Injuries, of course, but everybody gets injuries, so you don't necessarily want that as an excuse. But
right.
South Carolina, they signed only 16 high school prospects in the last recruiting cycle, Shane. 9 of them were 4 or 5 star prospects. So they're recruiting really well. The players are continuing to buy into the message there. And one of the guys that is not among those elite prospects I just mentioned, number 3 punter prospect in the country, number 2 JUCO defensive lineman. So, and they signed about 20 something odd guys out of the transfer portal. So I think this is going to be, a lot of talent incoming to Columbia this offseason. We'll see how it pays off. But here's where I really wanted to go with this, Shane, and I got 10 different coaches. Because obviously it'd be kind of stupid if we're sitting here saying, well, this game could put Kirby on the hot seat. Yeah. This game could put, another really good coach on the hot seat. So kind of the way I wanted to frame this, and I really wanted to explain this because I didn't want to confuse you here, buddy, but
too late.
If a coach were to lose this game, I think I pinpoint one game in particular for 10 coaches that if they lose it, I'm not saying they're going to turn around and get fired the next day or anything like that, but I think it'll turn the tide potentially and get fans against the coach to where either maybe we will fire him or really it's just basically lose majority support of a fan base. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's not so much that, like you said, he'll get fired. It's like maybe you start questioning: is this our guy? I think this is this is probably not our guy. That kind of situation,
right? And I avoided games like Tennessee, Georgia, because I don't care if Georgia beats Tennessee by 50, which that's not acceptable by any means. But again, it's like Tennessee's not. They're probably going to be a multiple touchdown underdog to Georgia. So it's not like Heupel will get roasted. He wouldn't get roasted for losing by that I'm being facetious here. But if he loses by 20 points, you ain't going to run Heupel off. He goes 11-1 and loses by 20 points to Georgia, right?
Maybe multiple field goals is what you meant,
All right, so here we go. I tried to do this in order of kind of like least hot seat, and then we'll go down to number 1, which is I do think if Coach loses this number 1, I think his ass fired the next day.
Okay,
if that makes sense, right?
All right.
So number 10, he hadn't even coached a game yet. Shane, I'm ready to run his ass off. I mean, Zach Arnett only got like 8 games, what have you. Jeff Lebby. I'm gonna throw up her schedule here. Let's see if you. I wonder if you can even guess this, or maybe you just want me to do the first one so you get an idea for what I'm doing here. But I have pinpointed one game here, Shane, where if Jeff Lebby does not win this game, I think fans will be like, "What the hell?" I mean, are we even going in the right direction? And again, this may not be fair to Lebby because he's a year 1 coach, but I still think there's one game where fans are circling, saying we can get us a win here.
August 31st, season opener.
No.
I mean, no. But if that were to happen, you know what I'm saying? It's like we're starting to.
Well,
we're starting.
I mean, yeah, we could pick G5 for everyone, but I went with October 26th, Arkansas Razorbacks. As awful as Arnett was, he beat Arkansas on the road. You cannot be losing to Arkansas, who I think. You ask 9 out of 10 Mississippi State fans, they think Sam Pittman's already a dead man walking. You turn around and lose to him That's what I'm talking about, where, again, they're not going to run Jeff Lebby off that next day, but they'll be sitting here saying, what the hell are we doing here? That we should be beating Arkansas at home 9 out of 10, particularly with a coach on the hot seat. What's your thoughts on that one?
No, I think you got a valid point there, Mike, because when you look at State's schedule, especially that last 8, there's only one that they're probably going to be a favorite in, and the closest one that they'll be to is Arkansas. I mean, there's a shot that they may be favored in that game, but I doubt it. But yeah, it's one of those. It can't be a multiple score game if you walk away, because, like you said, Zach Arnett, as god awful as he was, still managed to beat these guys last year.
Right. So, Shane, you're going to love that I got this coach on here. Steve Sarkisian, again, I get it. Won the Big 12. He's the greatest damn coach in the world. He just got an extension. Bama wanted him, all this, yada, yada. Okay, that's great. But he lose one game here, Shane. And there's a lot of things, a lot of factors for putting this in there. I put in, we're all excited about Texas coming in the SEC. They're going to dominate. We got the highest over-under, tied with Georgia in the entire SEC. We're going to go to the college football playoff. We can throw a lot of water on all that, Shane, on our debut season in the SEC. And this may not be fair, but I'm putting it out there, because I think, despite it being on the road, despite they just won the national championship, I'm going week 2, Shane, September 7th at Michigan. If Texas finds a way to lose this damn game with Jim Harbaugh in the NFL, with 20 players gone from that roster to the NFL, if we're 1-1 to start this season, we lose a game before we even get to conference play, I think a lot of fans around the country are going to be like, oh, yeah, I told you, Sark was a joke. This ain't cutting it. I mean, they have – I don't care if it's by 1 point. They have to beat Michigan. If they don't beat Michigan, I don't think it's going to be a good year in Austin.
No. I'm right there with you, brother. And it's that stumbling right out of the block, because as pumped up and as excited as Sark is about this football team, well, that radiates with the fans. And if the fans are excited – and the coach is excited, and then we squander it in week 2 against Michigan, a team that's been decimated since the allegations came out. So, I absolutely. I don't think they're going to fire him. I don't think they're going to, mess with his contract or anything like that. But I do. But think
it could be the beginning of it. Like if they go 7-5 this year, if they're losing to Michigan, they may go 7-5. That's the point I'm trying to make. And Michael King says no way they lose to Michigan. That's exactly why that damn game's on the list. Because coaches lose these games all the time. And when you lose them, that's when you start to lose people.
When I pull up that schedule one more time, is there there's another one on here. I don't know if you're going to – or is there any more Texas on your list? Because I thought you were doing like 10 different coaches. Okay.
I am, yeah. So this is the one I had circled basically for Texas.
The only other one that I may throw on there, Mike, or at least let you think about and let it marinate, it's November 30th, Texas A&M. I mean, I don't think we truly realize how huge this game is. Not just now, but think on November 30th. There's a shot that Texas rolls into that game with maybe a loss, maybe 2 losses, and if they drop that one, guess who's getting left out of the college football playoffs? Not only have you been yelling at the top of your chair and the top of your lungs about how you're going to beat the Aggies, if you lose that one and get left out of the college football playoffs because of it, brother, I do think there's going to be maybe a few rumblings back home.
I disagree with you, Shane, because I've already said it. I think A&M's going to have a better, or at least finish higher than Texas in the SEC standings.
Okay.
So I ain't putting Sark on a hot seat for losing a game he probably is going to lose anyway in Kyle Field. But I'll flip it, because number 8 on my list, Mike Elko, is that game right there, of course, Shane. Again, we're not going to run Mike Elko off year 1. Hell, everybody thinks Texas is going to be incredible, preseason top 5. They probably deserve that. But that's a game you got to win, brother, after not having this game for over a decade. You get Texas in your building. Mm-hmm. You could win 10 games this year. If you lose to Texas, again, the fans are not going to be out on you, but there will be some questions about whether this is a guy that can win his fair share against Texas. And that I mean, this is such a great rivalry. We're seeing it day in, day out. All this, the heatedness between these two. I think Elko, all the pressure in the world, November 30th, you got to win that game if you're Mike Elko.
It's a tough one, man. That is a tough one. I don't know if that would put him on the hot seat because I'm the opposite. I think Texas is going to be the team with the dominant and multiple score advantage coming into that one. That's just how I feel right now.
Yeah.
So we're like on two total opposite ends. So losing that one, it's like, well, I kind of expected that,
Right. Well, it's okay, Shane. You're wrong all the time. I don't mind at all. But all right, how about I got one pulled up here for Drink, Shane. Again, I know he's top of the world, SEC Coach of the Year. We expect him to have a great year. But if there's one game, Shane, that this man, again, they're not going to fire him or anything like that, but one game where the fan base is going to be pissed as hell if Mizzou loses next season. I bet you already know what it is. Can you guess which game I went with here?
Oh man, Mike, I don't know if I do. Now I'm all over the place because I'm kind of looking at October 5th. Are you looking
on the road at Kyle Field? No. The answer, Shane, is November 9th, Oklahoma. There is real hatred towards the Sooners and Mizzou right now. And again, I didn't even realize this was a damn rivalry. And this, what's so funny, Shane? This is kind of the reverse where. Remember, it was Mizzou and Arkansas, and then Arkansas was like, this ain't a damn right. What the hell are you talking about? Now they can't beat them. Now Oklahoma fans are saying, this ain't a damn rivalry. They can't, we smoked them 80 years in a row, whatever, during the 60s and all that. Well, now it's a rivalry, brother. And you can say it's not a rivalry. You got to beat them because that may be the toughest team that Oklahoma faces this year is going on the road to Missouri. So I just think Drinking Company, they better win that damn game after all this shit their fans are talking.
Hey, I get it. Pull that schedule up here. I'm going to make a little argument here myself.
Okay.
I appreciate your list and all, but Mike, here we got, for the listeners, we got 4 extremely winnable games right out of the gate. I mean, I don't even know half these teams. You get to Vanderbilt September 21. That's your toughest game. Maybe Boston College on the September 14th.
Their coach just left right before spring football, Boston College's.
That's right. Doug Flutie ain't out there quarterbacking this thing either, brother. So October 5th, the reason I had this one on there is because the knock on Drink right now is that last year was a fluke. Last year was an accident. It was you caught teams at the right time. It was your roster was better than we thought it would. But there's no way they can repeat this. There's no way they can do better than that's what people outside of Mizzou are saying right now. And if you just start out the season 4-0 and you go down to a new coach down there at Texas A&M, a team that you probably should have beat several times, but you just can't find a way to do it. If you get beat by A&M, I think that's where the seed of doubt comes back in saying, shit, maybe they were right. So I think that one is a big matchup. It's a one that you got to have because if they can get past them, brother, there's no reason that this team's not 7-0 going into Bama.
Right, but A&M, look at their schedule. If they can get past Notre Dame and at Florida, they're going to be undefeated. I mean, you're talking. This is just your A&M hatred here that they ain't a good team. I mean, A&M could be a college football playoff team. Remember, their over/under's 8.5 right now, Shane, with a new coach, which even the biggest diehard A&M fans will tell you they don't know what to make of this team. They could win 7 games, they could win 11 games. Like anything in between. So, losing at Kyle Field, one of the toughest places in all of college football, I don't think that's a mark. I think that's one of 2 games, maybe 3, that Missouri possibly
convinced,
could lose next year.
So you're convinced that A&M has a better shot coming into that game undefeated than Mizzou does.
No, I'm sitting here. You're sitting here saying that's a bad loss, and I'm sitting here saying. So you're saying if A&M is 5-0 and beats Missouri at home, how is that a bad loss for Missouri? I think that is.
Because
A&M, you can't walk into A&M.
I don't think at this moment they get past a Notre Dame or a Florida or
Notre Dame.
I'm just saying. New coach. I don't know why all of a sudden you just think A&M's just going to pick up because Elko's back.
Well, because they got rid of that scumbag Jimbo, Shane.
Yeah,
he was weighing us down.
They got rid of half their roster too, Mike. And just because we had 1 million transfers come in doesn't mean the puzzle's just going to come together here. I think the biggest concern is that there's going to be some growing pains.
Billy Lucci replace you, Shane. This is ridiculous.
Damn, I never knew you were this big of a fan of Texas A&M. Mizzou is we're sitting here, Mike, talking about Missouri potentially competing for a national championship, and you're saying, well, but they can't get past Texas A&M. It's like I don't know where that comes from, Mike.
That's one of the 2 games they had. It's just that one, and it's Alabama. Those are the only 2 games they have to win, and they're in.
But if they don't, that's what I'm saying. If they don't win that game, then all of a sudden the seed of doubt comes in saying Mizzou, because then you're like, well, shit, maybe they don't beat Oklahoma. Maybe they don't.
I'll make you a bet right now because I don't think you know what you're talking about here, Shane. I'll bet you whatever you want. I'm not saying A&M's going to win the game.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you Texas A&M will be favored to beat Missouri. So you're sitting here saying that's a bad loss. I'm telling you, I think, again, I'm not saying A&M's winning it, but I guarantee you in Kyle Field, A&M will be favored by the better, the point spread.
Let's say week of, all right, because some of these come out a couple weeks before. Right. Let's say week of. I'm with you. What's the wager here? I'm game.
I'll let you think about it, but
let's let the fans.
Chris says you need to put the bong down.
let the fans post whatever, and then at the end we'll try to find the best one.
Okay. I'm going to be right
I ain't
again,
walking, though. Don't you dare put 13 miles on there because it ain't happening.
1 mile for every... No, just kidding. All right, we got to move on here, but you're wrong. All right, Shane, Brent Venables, again, they get mad. I even suggest this damn man could get fired, even though that's legitimately what I'm hearing here. But, again, I'm not saying he's going to get fired the day after this game or anything like that, but I think the one where we could start to lose faith in Brent Venables, close to Shane's heart. Mm-hmm. Can you know which one it is?
Mike, surely I'm going to land one of these, Mike. Give me Tennessee Vols, September 21st.
September 21st, Tennessee and Josh Heupel come back to Norman. And again, this is, you can't quite call this a rivalry because they don't play a ton of games, but they have played some good games in recent history here. I think there's going to be pressure on Brent Venables and company to prove that they are legitimate in the SEC, and they may even be favored. I kind of think that as long as they take care of business the first 3 weeks, this may be a pick 'em, or maybe even Oklahoma favored by 3 points or something like that. So I just think if Tennessee goes in there and waxes them, which could happen, not saying it will, but it could. I think fans, I think they'll begin to lose faith in old Brent Venables, and they'll be yearning to get that Josh Heupel back in Norman. You know what?
I think you're right. I keep going back to that damn A&M one, man. How about a gallon of milk? We got to drink a gallon of milk because that's what they're like all about, right? Milk on the sideline and stuff. Okay, I'm going back to Oklahoma. This one's important because Oklahoma fans are expecting to win that game. Right now, if you poll them right now, 95% of them are expecting to beat the Tennessee Volunteers. And Tennessee Vols the same way with Oklahoma. Why? Because Oklahoma kicked our ass, the last time we played. So right. I think that's still in their mind that this is a lower tier team in the SEC. And here's Oklahoma thinking they're just going to run through the conference. And if you drop that one week 4, I do think that there's a seed of doubt playing it in that you're like, hey, maybe this coach isn't SEC ready.
Right. Well, how about stupefied, Shane? And this, just like Shane ain't walking, I ain't shaving my head because that ain't a fair bet. Because what the hell Shane's gonna shave there? I mean, we can't. That's too one-sided. You know what?
Oh no, he's got a good one. I like that one. We'll table that one.
All right. How about again? You got to remember what I'm doing here, Shane. So I'm not saying they're going to sit here and fire this guy immediately, but the fans could lose faith. I think in Brian Kelly, there's one game on here, Shane, that I think to get the fans fully on board with what we're doing here, given the circumstances. Can you give us a guess on who you think I picked for LSU? A game next season they must win, and I'll give you a hint here. It's a home game.
because you knew I was going to go week 1 because he hasn't won one of those down there. But
Right.
I'm going to go. I say Ole Miss. You got Ole Miss, maybe?
No, I think it's Alabama, and because I think Ole Miss will be better than Alabama next year. So again, you get them both at home. I get it. Those are the 2 games LSU fans are going to want more than any other. But let's call it what it is, Shade. I mean, Alabama has owned LSU, and we tied that to the greatest college coach of all time, Nick Saban. If DeBoer comes in here and beats LSU in Tiger Stadium year 1, seemingly. If he's having that type of success, Alabama's probably just going to keep getting better under him. We're supposed to be ready-made here at LSU. I think all the pressure in the world on Brian Kelly, if he does not beat Alabama and he falls to 1-3 against Alabama in 4 years, again, they're not going to run him off necessarily, but I think they're going to be wondering, what the hell is this guy? Is he ever going to win the big one,
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously that – just given the situation, that being late in the season, I think expectations will be a little bit higher for LSU to kind of win out. They're expecting kind of that reins to be handed over, that Alabama is going to take the back seat for a while, and it just feels like you release that hold if you let Alabama beat you. So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. All right, and then how about you're going to like this one, Shane. Kentucky. There's what here. They got to win this damn game, Shane. If not, it's going to start. Mark Stoops, he ain't the guy. They're probably not going to fire him the next day, but I think it could be the beginning of the end for Mark Stoops if he loses this game. And again, it's a home game. Where do you think I'm going?
You're going to start narrowing it down. It's in September.
Yep.
September 7th. Give me South Carolina, week 2, first SEC game. You talk about the wheels falling off. I think that's when it happens.
Right, and Carolina's beaten Kentucky 2 years in a row.
Yep.
Now, they'll tell you what, Will Levis was hurt for one of those games, which is fair. But again, we can't be losing 3 in a row.
Yeah.
They think Beamer's horrible. He sucks. Sunglasses, all that. Well, hell, you just lost to him 3 in a row. You can't have that. Not in year 11 of your football program. So I think there's going to be all the pressure in the world for Mark Stoops after his damn sunglasses. Imagine sunglass comments and then never beating a guy again. That's a horrible, horrible look. Mark Stoops got to get that week 2 win over South Carolina. Give you some momentum going into Georgia that you desperately need, because everybody needs momentum going into the Georgia game. You know what?
Man, if we had a top 10 list of games I never want to watch again, Will Levis getting hurt against South, that game right there, buddy. I need more beer to even think about watching that one again.
Yeah. All right. How about my favorite, Shane, Hugh Freeze. 1 game here. If he loses this game, they're not going to fire him, but they may as well, because I don't think we're going anywhere if we lose this damn game. There's 1 game on the schedule. He always has an embarrassing loss. Shane, he'll probably beat Georgia, and then he'll turn around and lose this damn game.
Oh, Mike. I mean, it could be any of them there. Which one are you talking about? I'll just let you tell me.
November 2nd, Vanderbilt.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's no more embarrassing than losing to New Mexico State, getting your ass kicked, last season. And for all the Hugh Freeze, he's beaten Nick Saban twice. He's lost to Vanderbilt multiple times as well.
Yeah.
You cannot lose these games. Year 2, I don't care what they could have no quarterbacks. You can't lose that damn game if you're Hugh Freeze late in the season. It's coming at a rough time, given that. Let's throw up that schedule one more time with Georgia on the road, Mizzou on the road, Kentucky on the road, and Oklahoma before all that. But I get it. The placement is brutal. No excuses. You cannot lose to Vanderbilt. If you do, I think it's going to be the beginning of the end for old Hugh.
Don't give me any names, because I don't want to ruin your list here, Mike. But if you were to give me a number of SEC coaches that would get fired immediately after losing to Vanderbilt, how many would you have? Because I'm thinking 3 right now.
So they throw up their schedule.
Well, not even schedule. Like if they were just to play, yeah. So all SEC coaches, if they were to lose to Vanderbilt at home, let's just make it even worse. Which
Sam Pittman?
Yeah.
Billy Napier?
Yeah.
That's probably the list, I would think.
Okay.
Maybe Stoops. Maybe Mark Stoops.
What, Beamer? Would Beamer be flirting with that?
I don't think so.
Vanderbilt, at South Carolina?
I mean,
homecoming game?
That's a tough place to play, Shane Van. Or no,
In the, no, I'm saying in Columbia. Columbia.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
That'd be the beginning of the end for Beaver too, no doubt.
Okay, all right. I was just curious.
All right, your guy, Shane. There's one game. And I basically put this damn list together for this game, Shane. This one and number one on my board. But there is one game, Shane. Josh Heupel, I don't care what he's got to do. He better not lose this damn game. Otherwise, again, they're not going to turn around and fire him. But I think we're going to start the narrative where 2022 was a fluke. This guy will never recapture that magic. All this hype, no substance. There's one game in particular. He's got to win. Otherwise, I think he's going to start to lose fans.
There's 13 reasons he should win this year. Give me the Florida Gators, October 12th.
That's the one, Shane. At home, I mean, fans are out. They think Billy Napier's a dud. He's going to get fired. He can't. And I get it. I get it. You know, Florida owns them. That's fine. But that's not this team. You know, that's the year. That's the years past. And it can't. If Heupel wins it again, he's not that being 500 necessarily against Florida is great or anything, but that's better than the last 5 Tennessee coaches. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think all the pressure in the world, Josh Heupel, they got to get that one against Florida. And if they can get it, they can start to get on a roll before going to Alabama, or hosting Alabama and having to go to Georgia. But you ain't beating either one of those teams if you can't beat Florida at home.
No, absolutely. This is a must win for the Tennessee Vols, but it's also important for Billy Napier too, because I think you're going to get the best of the Florida Gators here, because this is a game that they have to have as well. So yeah, this is it.
I don't know if Florida has to have it, because they got one more, Shane.
Yeah.
That's right where I went. There's a lot of ones they got to win here, but again, this is the other one, Shane, where I wanted to. When I came up with this idea, there was one game I had circled. There's a lot of games Billy Napier probably needs to win, but there's one game in particular, Shane. If he loses it, I may fire him the next damn day. I mean, I think it could be that bad. And again, there's a lot to pick from here. I don't know if you'll get this or not, but
October 19th, Kentucky.
You nailed it, Shane. I mean, we waxed Kentucky for how many damn years here?
Yeah.
We cannot lose 4 in a row. We beat them 31 in a row prior to that. Well, it was a couple of years before, but you can't have that. You can't at home. I mean, this is ridiculous that we're talking about this, Shane. You got to show pride, and I think Florida will be much improved. So this is a one where I think they'll be favored, and they should win it. And it may not even be that close. I don't know, but that's a game where Billy can't take you there in year 3. He ain't taking you anywhere.
No, that's you talk about being walked out. That's it, because the schedule is it's daunting. It is a damn beast after that. So you have to have it.
Michael Riley says the whole damn schedule basically is a must
It
win.
really is. That's why I said Tennessee, because there's some games that I think are going to be a little bit closer. You know, like the Miami, A&M, Tennessee, Kentucky.
I think there's a realistic opportunity. Again, I've said this many times, but I don't think it's totally unrealistic that Florida's undefeated going to Tennessee. So I don't know how that's a must win on the road.
But that's predicting that they'd go undefeated. I mean, you got the juggernaut national champs A&M there on September 14th, Mike. You know, I mean, how are they going to get past that damn that beast? So I think Miami right out of the gate is a must win. I mean, there's some pivotal hot seat games here, and you could argue the Miami game. I think you could argue the Mississippi State game. You've talked about that being a tricky one. It's the away one that maybe you're looking forward to. The next one's coming up. But, yeah, it's just so many games on this schedule, and which one is that final dagger? Or even if it's on there, who knows? Florida may just keep winning and prove everybody wrong.
Right. They may just keep winning 4 or 5 games. You know, keep doing it forever. If that keeps you happy down there in Gainesville, it sure as hell wouldn't keep me happy. I know that. But again, Shane, I don't know. While I was doing this, I know you didn't do a list like this, but any that I may have omitted or anything like that, where you just think, yeah, this coach got to win this game.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about the other coaches you didn't mention, and I don't think of any right offhand.
I didn't do Pittman just because it's like, well, hell, I mean, he's probably in enough trouble already, and I'm not.
But is there a game?
I'm not seeing any that he's. I mean, he's got a lot of the big time home games, but I think they're going to be underdogs in all of them.
Yeah. I
don't think they're going to be favored in well. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be favored in any of the road games, Shane. I mean, this is crazy, but no, I think he's in trouble. Basically, anytime he loses, he's going to be in trouble.
Well, I mean, saving grace, November 30th, Mizzou. I mean, if you win that one.
They never beat them. And then Lane Kiffin, I couldn't really come up with one there. Again, if they lose to Georgia, that's expected. They lose at LSU. I don't think they're going to run Kiffin off for that. Oh,
it's the third game. If they lose 3, and you just pick whatever one it is, if they drop 3, you're just out.
Right. And then Beamer, again, I don't know. I mean, this is a tough schedule. But I guess
what is that, a kangaroo up there? September 21st, you get
Akron.
What is that, a zip? I know they call them the zips. But what does that stand for? That looks like a damn rabbit.
It's an Akron zip.
What the hell is a zip? You know what? If you lose to a zip, you deserve to get fired. So there it is. There's my Beamer one.
Michael Riley says Clark Lee's got to win the spring game or he's gone. Well, Shane, I think that's a great place to end on it. You got anything else before we hop off the line?
No, I hate that no one got to hear that wonderful list. I put an hour together here, but maybe one day.
Go over it.
Okay, real quick. All right. So, I mean, this is go back to NCAA football game, all right? Because there's going to be times you're going to be head-to-head with somebody, and you're going to pick a team, and then it's like, who are you going to play? Who's going to be your go-to, whatever? So I'm not going to do them all, but Mizzou, obviously, I've got Luther Burden. That's going to be an easy one. Yep. Alabama's going to get played with a lot. Why? Because they're going to be ranked high. They're going to be favorites online if you're going head-to-head with somebody. So Jalen Milroe, naturally, probably going to be one of the highest-rated quarterbacks. He's got everything that you need, the speed especially. Georgia, I fell in love with Roderick Robinson and Trevor Etienne this weekend. I just think, hey, there's a chance maybe I start going back to the wishbone, and with these guys, we're going to have 2,000 yards and 60 rushing touchdowns. You could say the same thing about Texas with Blue and Baxter there. Yep. But Isaiah Bond is one of those guys that I look forward to playing with just because of his speed, kind of like Brown with Kentucky, with punt returns, kick returns. He's a guy I'm going to put back there, and maybe if I get 1 or 2 per game, that's going to be awesome. LSU Perkins, they don't know what to do with him, but by God, I will when I get on my football team. and I talked about tight ends, playing against you. I'm a tight end lover, so going to have Mason just to see if they mention Jason while I'm playing with him. Jackson Dart, because of all the weapons that he has, Prescore and Harris and Juice Wells. OU. A little defense love. Give me Danny. I just think just a natural headhunter back there in the middle of that linebacking core. Plus Jackson Arnold, similar to what I was telling you about Arch or Nico earlier. It's a guy that you could kind of build your dynasty around, a nice young quarterback. Probably going to be highly rated on this video game as well. Let's see. Arkansas got Landon, the Hitman Jackson. He'll be fun to play with. And then last but not least, I got the Florida Gators. Who do you think I got off the Florida Gators?
DJ Lagway.
Nope, Trey Wilson.
Oh.
The Swiss Army knife. I want speed, Mike. I'm already kind of giving you hints of what you got coming your way when we play football against each other. But yeah, that is my list.
There's one that again, sticking with we talked a lot of South Carolina. I think a duo that'll be really fun in the game is Lenoris Sellers, redshirt freshman quarterback who's he's a big time runner as well. Someone you could build your dynasty around, and you probably won't have him for just 1 year. But Rocket Sanders, that dynamic duo with throw in Nick Harbor as well. South Carolina.
Oh,
that,
Nick.
That could be a fun little dynasty to start with as well.
Nick, put Nick on my list. Forget them all. Put him up there. Taking time off for the what is it? The Olympics or something right now. So.
How about and then Auburn? They got the freshman Cam Coleman, Megatron 2.0. They're saying down there, so he could be another one that I'll be interested to see how highly rated some of these freshmen are. But I bet you he'll be a handful on the game.
Anybody off? Let's see, Mississippi State. I didn't mention anybody off them. You got anybody on that list?
How about our guy Mike Wright, who I talked a little bit about last? I mean, I don't even know where in the hell you go play him, but he's dynamic with just don't ask him to throw the football, but he's dynamic. get his hands on the ball. He's bound to explode out there. You know what?
Well, that was my go-to back in the day. If my team sucked, I would put a wide receiver at quarterback because at least I could run the ball. So Mike Wright would be a good one. Any other Vandy?
Well, they got Seth Alexander, the running back. He's solid, but again, that Vanderbilt's more about a team that I want to build into something.
Yeah. Kick out.
Their quarterback is pretty fun though. Diego Pavia. He's I hate to keep burying Auburn, but he smoked Auburn at New Mexico State last year. So he's like a poor man's Johnny Manziel. So Vanderbilt could be a sneaky fun team too. I don't know if they got anyone to catch the ball or anyone to block, but they got a nice quarterback and running back to run with.
All right. Last but not least, your beloved A&M national champs. Who you taking off that one?
I mean, they got a really talented backfield. Reuben Owens, remember the 5-star running back they signed last year? He's in year 2. They got Moss back here to run the football. They got a lot of good receivers down at A&M to go with Connor Wigman. I think that's going to be a sneaky fun offense next season.
Well, at least a good defense, be a lockdown up front, maybe that way you could kind of build around them. So I don't know if they're year 1 material like Mike says, but 2 years, maybe I can have them where they need to be.
So, hey, before we wrap up, did we come to a conclusion on the bet? I didn't see anyone give us anything aside from shaving my head, which...
Let's do half a gallon of milk. I think I heard somebody died doing a gallon, so let's don't do that. Let's do half a gallon of milk during the show, so that's got to be consumed as soon as that comes out. So we do those picks on... Do we do those on Sundays? Is that where we do the... We'll cross that bridge when it gets there. Mike will probably forget to remind me, but I'll never forget. So half a gallon of milk. Your choice.
All right, buddy, go buy your
White
milk now because you're going to need it. You know what?
Yep, you got it. That's just a normal. That's a normal Tuesday, Mike. So.
All right, brother. Well, hey, I appreciate you. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out, especially those on the live show. We'll catch you all today.